What's happening, YouTubers? It's your boy CB, and we are back for my favorite segment on the channel, Huddle Watch Alongs with Recruits. On today's episode, I have a absolute trench bully with me. For you guys that like big time trench bully football, smash mouth football, and guys that can impact an entire football game from the defensive line, you have clicked on the right video. 2028 defensive lineman Asher Ghioto. I almost said his name wrong, and I practiced saying it right. Asher Ghioto is one of the baddest defensive linemen, regardless of class, coming off of a fantastic freshman year. He's one of those defensive linemen that is disruptive against the run and the pass, a guy that you have to put two people on, a guy that you have to key on. And if you leave him one-on-one, you're just asking for disaster. Literally one of the most disruptive defensive linemen you will see, regardless of class. Asher Ghioto, how's it going, bro?
It's going amazing. How's everything going?
Not too bad down here in Texas, enjoying this little rush of cold weather we've gotten lately. You
Yeah.
guys got a little bit of it too. What's it like dealing with it down there in Florida?
It's different. I mean, definitely not used to sub 30 degrees. Seeing 29 when I wake up is not something I like, but I mean, we're learning to deal with it. I now I know I got to get a couple more hoodies in my collection, but learning from it.
So season is over for you now, but the season is really never over for you guys because the work starts immediately. But recruiting for you, it just looks like every time I get on my app, it's another one and another offer or someone who wants you to come visit. How's that balance in that, Asher? When the season's over, you still you want to get some work in, you want to work with your squad, you want to work with your coaches outside of high school, but now the phone starts ringing and you guys want you to come take visits, they want you to see the program. How is it balancing all that?
It's different. I mean, especially going through it so young. Most kids don't go through it until they either have a car or able to provide stuff for
That's a
them.
great point.
Yeah, and so it's different because if I need to go somewhere, I'll need to have someone present to be able to take me there, or I'll need to have someone there to like chaperone it because I'm too young to talk to. So I'll have to like it's different, but I mean I'm glad it started so early at the same time because it gives me a feel and I can. One of the most destroying things for high school football players is worrying about where they're going to play next. So being able to get it started freshman year and understand the process and being able to focus on my high school career in front of me because I know eventually I'm going to be playing football somewhere else has really helped a lot, and a lot of great mentors along the way. Kids at my school, they have a lot of great success as well, and I've had a lot of good coaches in my life and friends be able to tell me how it has been for them as an older student. So it's definitely helped a lot. But I would say getting started this early has its ups and downs, but it definitely helps more than it does not help.
Do you remember your very first offer? The
I
first
do,
one
and
that came through?
man, it was awesome. It was I last spring I had just joined my high school. I wasn't even allowed to practice yet, so I was just standing there and I was just watching practice. Practice was over, and it was UCF, and they were after practice. They were talking to coach. I'd gotten called over, and he obviously couldn't talk to me, so he like whispered in the coach's ear, and then the coach is like, he wants to offer you, and then the dude, he's just like shaking his head, yeah. And I was like, I was so happy. It was butterflies. I mean, it was nothing like your first offer, 100%.
I love that you remember that. And the second I even said it, you lit up like, look, I remember
Yo,
this like it was like it was yesterday. From
exactly.
from everything, from how it felt to you being there, to the coach being next to you, to the small detail of him whispering. Like, I love that you still remember that, even as the offer sheet has become what it's become. I love that you
Absolutely.
still remember every detail of that very first one that came through. And we're going to touch on some more of these, but beforehand, there were a couple accolades that came through that I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up because they're just absolutely awesome. How was it that day when you figured out like I'm a Max Preps All American? Max Preps, for those of us that follow high school recruiting and high school football, they are the goats when it comes to tracking you guys' stats and keeping recruiters and fans alike informed. Becoming an All-American for Max Preps, it's something that's really cool. A nice little feather in the cap. What was that like getting that news?
It was amazing. I mean, I was in class and my coach had just sent me a link and he's like, I think this is something you'll like. And I go and click on it. I was like, oh, this is the All American roster. So either I'm on it or I'm not on it and I'm an honorable mention. And so I'm like, okay. So I think to myself beforehand, I'm like, all right. So first team or not, this is still cool because he sent it to me. So I'm somewhere in here
I'm in
regardless.
here somewhere.
All I know is I'm in here, first team, second team, honorable mention. I'm somewhere on here, so I go scrolling through, and then I see first team defensive line, and my name's right underneath it, and I was so happy because the whole day I had knew that it was gonna come out around that time, so I'm like nervous the whole day. I'm like scratching, and then I like finally get the message. I'm like, oh, so my stomach drops, and then I'm like, oh yes, like all the worrying and everything. It
Time
was
had to be so slow as you're scrolling. Like that had to be like the longest scroll ever.
it was definitely the longest scroll ever. I'm just sitting there, I'm like reading every little bit to see if I missed something and just see maybe somewhere like it mentions me and then I keep going and then I finally see it and it was just the biggest relief and it was the biggest thing that I got to be a part of because I mean, they Max Preps isn't politics, nothing. It goes off your stats and it goes off your film. So they can't argue with that.
I like that you said that too, Max. When it comes to Max Press, they just want to know about your production.
Exactly.
This is not someone who campaigned for you. This is his production means he's an All American. Another platform that has just been fantastic when it comes to high school recruiting, and we're just on the heels of the Under Armour All Star Game. When you got the news that you were a UA All American, that's a dream for young recruits. That playing in that game in the future and being listed as a UA All American is a big deal. It's a stepping stone. It's one of those things that gets more offers coming through as well. How cool was that being named as a UA All American?
It was amazing. I mean, I was at camp in Orlando, and I knew going into it there's only two invites that were going out that day to defensive linemen, and so there was probably 70 kids in that group with me,
Mm.
and I knew going into it that I'd have to do something different apart from everybody else. So I went out there. I had a good attitude. I came out there. I did everything I needed to beforehand. I made sure I introduced myself to all the coaches beforehand because I didn't know any of them originally. So I made sure before the camp that if I did do something good, they knew who I was and they were keeping tabs on that. And so I wore all the stuff. I had my hair as poofy as possible. It was I mean, because they were, as soon as I met them, they're like, oh, that's the ginger kid. And I was like, yup. So
Yeah, it
we go
is.
out there and I do all my stuff. We get to one-on-ones and there's this kid. He's about like 6'8", 6'9". All the kids are getting whooped by him. And the coach like puts me on some little kid and I'm like, no, like I want to go against him. So the coach is like, all right. So I go against him. And around this time, I was like 6'1", like 170. So I'm like, all right, so I either die or I don't. So we're going against I'm like, I just gotta beat him. So and then I just like toot everything out. I'm like, all right, if I beat him, I know I have my spot solidified. I've done everything good beforehand. And so we went out there and we did our one-on-one, beat him 4 times in a row. And so the coaches were like, all right, this kid has something that he can do. Cause if I was just to do that against a little kid, they wouldn't know what I could really do. But I go against the best kid at the camp, you really showcase. And that's what, after the camp, we had all came together and the coaches were just telling me how amazing everyone did. And then they finally called my name up and I was one of the first people to get the golden ticket to the game. And it was just amazing. And the best part about getting the ticket to the game in February was that I knew I was going to into that game, so I needed to get myself ready physically for that game. I knew I was undersized. I knew if I was 170 pounds going into it against another 6'8" kid, maybe it wouldn't be the same. And so that really pushed me, and it really, I would say that gave me the jump start that I needed for my recruiting in the way that I really do stuff.
What uh, what went into that mentality, that ability to be at that camp and go, okay, I'm doing well. I want him though. The dude that has been destroying everybody here. That's a different. It takes a different. Everyone got a little bit of dog in them. It takes a different level of dog to see the biggest dog on the yard and go, "Give me him." And you even said it. I'm either gonna sink or swim here. It wasn't like you said, "I'm about to dominate this dude." You told yourself, "I'm either gonna die or I'm gonna whoop him." But either way, you were prepared to line it up. And I'm not throwing shade at anyone there, but there had to be some people counting people in line, making sure they were not going up against him. Talk about the mentality you have at a camp like that where you want the biggest dog in the yard.
Absolutely. I mean, it was going out there, like I said, like you have to set yourself apart from everybody else that's there. If you do, if you're in line and you're just counting people and you're like, I don't want to go against this kid because I'm gonna look bad, so I'm gonna try to pick on the little kids and I'm gonna try to beat them up. But in reality, like it may look good to you and maybe the people around you, but the coaches, they want to see what you can do against the best kids that are there. So if you're trying to prove yourself as one of the best, you have to beat the best. So I knew going into that. I saw him the whole time I was there, and I was like, I know he's good. I saw they were so actually they were twin brothers, and they were both 6'8", and so there was one on right tackle, one on left tackle. The kid, they were both whooping everybody, and so we go into it, and I'm like, all right, like I know I'm gonna have to go against him, and regardless if I beat him or I don't beat him, I know that it's gonna set a good impression on the coaches because it's like he wants to go against the best. He wants to prove himself. He wants to really go out there and show what he can do, not just pick on little kids to try and seem like he's the best player ever. So going into that, I knew that like I'm not gonna go into everything being like I know I'm gonna dominate this kid because that mentality will just that will destroy you because you got to realize it could take one mistake for you to get put on your butt, and especially in this sport, I mean, like one wrong move and you're
Yep.
hurt and your career's done. So you just got to be smart with what you do, and with that being smart, you have to be smart enough to realize I got to go against the best if I want to be the best. So that whole mentality is a big thing for me, and it definitely helps me a lot in high school too, being a freshman and going against kids who are a lot. They're 18, 17, and I'm just going out there and going against them, and they're 300 some pounds, 6'6", and but I'm like, all right, like I got
I'll
to if I want to
compete.
be the best, I got to go against the best. So I go against them every time, and it works out because I never had the mentality to where I need to skip out to order to look good. So
I
that's
love
what really
that.
propelled me.
That also tells them, look, when he comes in as a freshman to our college, he's going to compete. He's not going to look at himself as, oh, well, let me not go to the front of this drill. He's going to come in and compete. He wants to prove himself or wants to figure out what do I do to beat to be able to beat him. If I'm just beating guys I know I can beat this entire camp, I haven't gotten better. I need to know if my dip and rip really works. And I'll be able to tell if it really works if it goes against him because he's been shutting everyone down tonight. So if I can get him with my swim move, okay, then my swim move is really not just for this camp, but that tells me, oh, this works. This really works. This will work against anybody. I love that ability to compete. That is why the offer sheet is what it is. So let's get into a couple of these. One of these, this team is going to be playing in a couple of weeks in the national championship. That
Yep.
Ohio State offer. How huge was that for you, knowing the success they have built at Ohio State under Ryan Day, a perennial winner, a team that is about to line it up in the national championship against Notre Dame? What was it like getting that offer from Ohio State?
It was amazing. I mean, it was really like it was my first offer after I got my first game of film, and I knew I had colleges waiting, but I wanted to see who was going to be the first after and what they were going to say about my film. Maybe it wasn't good enough, maybe it wasn't what they needed or what they thought I would be, but they called me or they called my friend. He's committed there now, Corbin Fordham, and I got to talk to the coach, and he was amazing, and they had offered me and they said they loved what they saw and that I was everything that they thought and more. So it was perfect because they had saw my size during the spring and they were like, oh my, like he can really go. So, but they wanted to see what I could do in game with that size because you could be 7 foot, but if you can't play, you can't play.
It's true. And when we're talking about toughness, when we talk about the Big Ten, that is smash mouth football country. Like, yes, Ohio State is known for a high powered offense, but they always are also known for running the football. You look at the history of the running backs there, you look at the history of offensive linemen there. The Big Ten is a smash mouth conference. So I like that that was at that a little bit of a stamp of approval there when you get an offer like that from not just a perennial winner, but a team that you know is in smash mouth football country. Another coach that is known for his toughness and his defense is Greg Schiano up there at Rutgers. When you think of Rutgers, you think of chopping wood, you think of a physical football team. What's been that experience getting to know Coach Schiano and having that offer from, again, a coach that prides himself on toughness and grit?
I mean, it was amazing. Everything about going up there. I mean, I go up there. First of all, I go up there. It was right after the Georgia camp, so I go up there. I'm like, all right, my body's gonna be a little bit fatigued, but I know I gotta go out there and do my thing. So we go out there. We get up there. I'm like, all right, it's gonna be a little cold. We're in New Jersey. I get up there. It's like 104 degrees, and I'm like, what in the world is this? And so I'm like, oh God, this is like I wake up, I step out, and I'm like, I'm in a hoodie. I didn't check the weather or nothing, and like, all right, yeah, this is, and there's turf. Like, this day could get a lot better. So we get there, and I knew going into it. I just came off the Georgia camp. I went against some very good offensive linemen there because those dudes are a different breed too, and they like it was something there. But at Rutgers, it was good. We got the day off. We got Oh my gosh, just thinking about it's pretty. It was an awesome experience. I mean, it was hot, but it was an awesome experience. That was one of my best camps. Going into it, I didn't think it was going to be one of my best, and
That's
I guess
awesome.
yes, and that was like we had went out, ran the 40. I'd ran one of the fastest 40 out of all groups, including receivers and every running back and all of that. And so they're like shocked already. They're like, "All right, this kid, he's in 8th grade. He's running a 4.8 flat and like this like he can move." And so I'm like, this is perfect." So that really got me going, and then we get into all the drills and stuff, and it was warm out there, but it definitely having that boost of confidence after that definitely helped push me through. And I will say those one-on-ones, I didn't win all of them, but I would go against the kids that were the hardest to go against. There were kids that were committed to Michigan, the 4 or 5 stars, and
I
I knew
love
I was
that.
like, if I'm gonna get beat, I want to try my hardest, and like I can still showcase my ability going against them regardless if I get beat by a little bit or if I win by a little bit. So I went out there, did my thing, and we after the camp we had gone into the this little arcade place, and they had like a bean bags, movies, and like all this stuff. And so we ate lunch after that, and took a tour around the facility, and it was one of the highest level facilities I've been at. Their recovery is different. They have a lot of good stuff. And I mean, I can see why they need the recovery up there. It's different. It's either freezing cold or it's burning hot. So
you feel
it
like
was a different experience.
You feel like experiences like that is why you didn't flinch necessarily as a freshman, like starting as a freshman. You feel like that mindset you have where if you're put in a situation where it may not be favorable or the conditions change, like you said, you're going up there expecting it to be cold, it's blazing hot, but you still have the mentality where I have to perform. You're at the UA camp and you're winning all your reps, but you're going, okay, I need to stand out. I need to pick the biggest dog. You feel like those experiences are why we get to see a freshman perform the way he did perform?
Absolutely. I mean, it definitely played a very big part in the way I performed this season, and being able to just go against someone and be like, I know I'm gonna beat you. Like there's nothing that you can do. So going out there, even if I lost some reps, but go out the next play and be like, all right, I'm gonna go at you again and again and again and again until you wear down and I'm still able to go. And then that's where it really starts, and that's where fourth quarter ball and everything comes into play.
Yeah.
And they can't hang around. But meanwhile, I'm still at 100%, and we're still going, and that's where it really comes in, and that's where that separates the football players from the real football players.
How was it adjusting to double teams? You feel like as the season progressed, you started getting doubled a bit more. And how you see
Yeah.
him now? He's like, bro, stop recording. I'll tell you about it. Like, how how do you how was it adjusting not just your mindset, but how you prepared for games, knowing okay, I'm probably not gonna see one on one much more this year.
Yeah, so going into it, the coaches after the first game, after our real first game, they're like, all right, because they were lining me up at the three technique and the four eye too, as well as the five. So I was all over the line playing wherever the coaches wanted me to. And so the our first game I'd gone against five-star offensive tackle Solomon Thomas, and he was a force. And so that was definitely a great first game. And um after that game I had 10 tackles, 5 TFLs, and so a bunch of QB hurries. I didn't get a sack that game because we unfortunately lost that game, but it was definitely more of a run focused game that they like to play, and they'd go up for a pass every once in a while, but they would have me on the inside to be able to stop that run so that we could force it outside. And it was a really fun game. But after that game, you could tell the coaches adjusted to what was being seen. And so they would double up. I'd be on the outside, and then the guard would come help the tackle, and then they'd both be kick stepping me. And I'm like, this is different. And so as the season went on, I was like, all right, so I got to adjust to this because I've never seen nothing like it. And so I started learning, I started looking up stuff. I started doing calls with my trainer and like, what can I do to be able to get past the situation? And so I started to adapt to it a little more. And it shows on my film as the year goes on that I started to adjust to what was being thrown at me. And it definitely helped. So, and the games, like game that's being shown, I had 3 sacks, 3 TFLs, and 4 tackles. So, it was definitely that was a good example for how I adapted and what I was capable of doing.
You feel like your ability to be effective from multiple positions on the defensive line, your defensive coordinator moves you around quite a bit. You feel like that helps with offenses not being able to key on you as much. It seems like he does try to figure out how to put you in different positions. Clearly, he knew ahead of time. Okay, they're going to start doubling Asher, so he moves you around quite a bit. How much do you enjoy that, being able to give the opposing offense different looks, play inside, play outside, and just kind of try to give that offensive coordinator a bit of a headache?
I mean, I love it because I go outside and they're like, okay, he's a threat outside, so we're gonna try to get him to go inside. And then I go inside and they're like, okay, he's a threat inside too. What do we do now?
What
And
do
so
we do?
they
Yeah.
have to adjust. And so and then it messes up what they're trying to do. And that was a big part, I feel, on the offensive line, being able to for them to have to try and double me or try to have to do these special things where they'd have to try and trap me because they knew I'd get back there, but they knew that they'd have to do something to be able to get around that. So I think a big part of that was like our coaches knew, and so they'd try and throw me on the wide side of the field, then they'd try to go to the short side of the field, and then it would just be pushed. And then we have another great linebacker, Simeon, and he's amazing. So it would be a trap for them. So you go one side, you get him. You go the other side, you get me. And it was really it was a really good play by our defensive coordinator to be able to move me from the inside to the outside to all the way to the inside at nose guard and be able to just clog up some gaps and be able to play smash mouth football.
And what I like too is when you have someone that can be as dominant as a pass rusher, you would assume hearing that oh, he's probably he's a pass rush guy, but you're not. You take just as much pride, like you said. I'll come in and play some nose tackle if I just need to eat up blocks. That's what I'm gonna do. You do take pride in both. Speak to the work that goes into that, and not just being a pass rush guy, but being a full, complete defensive lineman that is just as disruptive against the run as he is against the pass.
I would say it's definitely because I think some young defensive linemen, and this goes for everybody, are so focused on getting sacks or getting to the QB that they get caught up in. You really have to stop the run before you get to the pass because you earn being able to get to the pass. Like being able to talk to coaches, college coaches about it. they're like, okay, you can pass rush, obviously that's what most DNs can do, but can you stop the run too when you have to go against a 360-pound guard and he's coming at you,
Yes,
or a
sir.
pulling guard coming at you? Can you adapt to that and be able to get around that or figure something out? And I feel like that was a big thing for me, and being able to have that force on the inside was a really big part in how many offers I did get, because I showed that not only could I do something on the outside, but I was definitely able to do a lot on the inside.
When we talk about some of those offers, someone down there at Miami, their head coach, Coach Cristobal, is the offensive lineman. And when it comes to offensive line talent, when it comes to evaluating offensive line talent, nobody's better. So when Coach Cristobal sees a defensive lineman that is elite, you know that means something, because he's looking at that from an offensive lineman perspective, going, okay, how would I block this young man? I wouldn't. So let's go ahead and offer him, because I don't
Yep.
think I could handle that either. What was that like, getting that offer from Mario Cristobal, from Coach Cristobal, a guy in a staff that prides themselves on trench football?
It was amazing. I mean, they were one of the first places I ever visited last year in around March. And so being able to be down there and see them firsthand and then get the offer about a year later, it was definitely amazing, because they being able to, I feel like a big thing for me is in practice is being able to go against the best of the best, because then it applies in game. And that's why I feel going somewhere that doesn't just have a good defensive line, but that has the best offensive line, that will develop you. Not just go somewhere that everybody's the best defensive lineman and they develop defensive linemen, but being able to develop
Love
really
that.
well and then go against someone to like portray your skills on during practice is a really big thing. And I think being able to do that in especially Miami, they have some big dogs down there, and being able to apply that on dudes like that is definitely special, because I mean, like you see it in games, the time in the pocket. I mean, Cam's back there just looking around and just like doing what he wants. So I mean, going against dudes like that can just really brick wall, and you can't get past them unless you are elite. That's a really big thing for me, and that's a reason that I really like Miami.
And then having the asset with Coach Cristobal being a former offensive lineman, how cool is it to be able to go to your head coach, even at practice, and go, okay, look, this move is no longer working. It worked for me in high school, but for some reason I can't get this off. To be able to pick a guy's brain to say, okay, like, well, tell me how I could change this to where you wouldn't be able to stop me. Like that's invaluable, because he can tell you, okay, let me tell you somebody that your size, what they did that gave me fits. And then you could apply that to your game. And then in your position group, you've got a gold jacket guy and Coach Jason Taylor. How how cool is it to be able to have a guy like that to pick his brain? But when we're talking about a guy that was an elite pass rusher and probably has forgotten more moves than we'll ever know, how much do you take pride in when you do get an offer from a guy like Coach Jason Taylor, being a Hall of Famer, who looks at your tape and goes, oh, yes, I want that guy on my defense?
It's definitely amazing. I mean, like you said, having a coach that you can go to, and that's a big thing for me, that was an offensive lineman, and you can go to them and be like, hey, like this move doesn't work. What can I do that will work? And them being like, oh, no, this move will work, but you just have to do it a certain way to get it to work. And so it's just the little things that some coaches can't tell you because they don't have the experience blocking them. And so having that experience as a coach and doing it for so long and doing it yourself, not just coaching it, and being able to go out there and perform and go against those people is a big thing, because not only can you coach it, but you've done it yourself, so you know it works.
I love that experience, because just in a little bit of talking to you, I can tell you're a student of the game. So I like that when you do get offers, you're not just looking at it from, okay, how do I fit into the defense? Okay, who's developing me and who would I be able to use as a tool if something is not working? Who could I talk to? I like that you said, even watching their practices, okay, their offensive linemen are dominant. That would be great work for me in practice. I love that you're so forward thinking when it comes to recruiting. So let's switch over to the SEC now, because when we talk about defensive linemen and we talk about some of the best defenses in the country, they are SEC schools. That stamp from a Big Ten school, knowing that, all right, this is Smash Mouth football. If they want me, then clearly I'm doing something right. Then you get the Mario Cristobal stamp, whereas this is an elite offensive line coach who can see what I can do. Then you get programs like Auburn, like Tennessee coming through. What was it like when you got that offer from Tennessee, knowing these are schools that pride themselves on good defense? You cannot win in that conference without a good defense. What was it like getting that offer from the Vols?
It was amazing. I mean, again, they were one of the first to offer me after a couple games of film, and they saw what I can do, and they were like, because after that, and I feel like those are the best offers to get, because it's not like you're just offering me off of size. Like, you're coming in there and you're like, all right, like even at camps, like they know what I can do after that. And so, going to having people call me and say they really like what they see, and they see me fitting into their defense or whatever they want me as, and I feel like that offer was really amazing, and I really love the atmosphere there. And not only that, but the defensive line and how they're coached up. And again, their offensive line, when I went to go visit there, was different. The way they, even when they warmed up for the football game, I mean, it was just like they did something really good, and they're obviously having a really good season over there. I mean, it came to a short stop, but they were doing really good, and I think they'll continue to do good. They have great recruiting classes, and they're going to be contenders for the national championship here in a year or two, in my opinion. And I think having that elite level offense to go against, like I said, in practice, and not just the offensive line, but the quarterback as well, because that's a big thing
Yes.
too. Being able to see someone that can scramble out the pocket, or he could stay in the pocket too and make a great pass. So being able to read a great quarterback like that is another really, really big thing, because it doesn't just come down to the offensive line. Because when you get back there, it's you and the quarterback, nobody else. So you got to be able to read him, read what he's going to do, be able to break down, make sure he doesn't get outside, know what type of player he is, just know what he can do so that you can counter that.
And then let's stay in the SEC. When we talk about some of these college programs, some of these fan bases are some of the most passionate fan bases you will find in the South. And you know that living in Florida with the big three. The Auburn fan base bleeds Auburn. Like they bleed it. What was it like getting that offer from Auburn? And what have been your experiences with the Auburn staff? Another program that loves and breathes and bleeds football.
It's amazing. I mean, again, a big thing for me also is the hospitality and the atmosphere. So they
Yes.
never disappoint. They were the first visit I'd ever gone on. The first one back
Really?
the beginning of my eighth grade year. I was at the New Mexico game, although they lost, and it was a tough loss, but I'd never seen a stadium so packed for a non SEC game, and it was awesome. I Going into that, they're like, okay, you can't go to a bunch of other games. You're an eighth grader. Like, obviously, I didn't have any offers at the time, so they were like, we can get you into this game though. We still want to see you. So went there, had a great time. It was awesome being able to be so just like in tune with the fans. Like, they were, no matter, they were losing by 20, but they were still, you thought they were winning by 60. So it was amazing. And their college town too. It's one of the most beautiful things ever. They're a real SEC team, and I really do like them. And they're definitely high on my list.
When we talk about atmospheres and college towns and energy, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up one of the big three from your home state. When we talk about Florida, the swamp is legendary. It lives up to the hype. Those fan base, those fans are rabid about their Florida Gators. They love that program. What was that like getting that offer from one of the home state schools, another SEC school, another school that has that tradition and that pride and that passion? You feel that when you're in the swamp. What was that like getting that offer?
It was amazing. I mean, I was at camp, and again, going into that, I knew that they had their eyes on me. So I still went around, talked to every coach, did what I needed to do, but I had some momentum going into that, so that really propelled me forward. And I knew that I had to go out there and stand out. So I was at the front of everything, doing everything as hard as I could. And like, cause I knew I was the youngest one there, and it was a big man camp. So everyone's like, all right, like we've heard of this kid, but is he really good? Like, he's young. So like he
It's
could
that
be.
idea of okay, what? Let's see it.
Exactly. And going into that, they're like, all right, he's young, he's good, but he might just be good for his grade. He might just be an average defensive lineman junior
Mm.
year. So, like, comparing and contrasting, like, all those things, and everybody's like, all right, So we go into one-on-ones after all the drills and stuff. And after the drills, I had some great stuff going for me, and I performed very well. And so we go into the one-on-ones. We start with run block, and I'm like, all right, I'm not as big as these offensive linemen, but I know I can do it because that's what I've been working on. A lot of people don't work on that, and they don't realize that it's a really big part of the game. So we go into it. I do really well in run block. I win all of those reps, and so the coaches are really impressed. They're like Mike Peterson, he's like, I didn't think that you could just I thought you were a pass rusher. So we go into that and I'm showing them all this different technique that I can do and everything that I can do as a defensive end. And then after that we go into pass rush, and that I lose two but I win five, and so that overweighs the bad. And definitely going against the kids that I went against, and they were the 4 stars and the 5 stars. I don't remember their names, but they were already offered, and one of them was committed. And so going into that again, having to go against the kids that the coaches have their eyes on, not only to watch what they're doing, but to watch who they're going against. So knowing that the coaches had their eyes on them was really that was a good thing for me because I knew that if I went against them, that their eyes would be on me too. So going into that and then winning reps against them, and after the camp, I we got some lunch, and then we go head up into Napier's office, and then he talks to me and my dad, and I get the offer, and I was so excited. It was my first SEC offer, and it was amazing. It was really amazing, and I feel like they paved the path for a lot of the offers that I got.
I love that no matter what camp you're at or no matter what situation you're put in, you just like competing. It's oh if you that's the guy, line me up against him. And I like that you from your first camp, from even going up to Rutgers, where it was a big scene change. You're thinking, man, my body's still a bit sore from the last one, but let me compete. Let me still put my hand in the dirt. Let me pick the biggest dog out here and see how I stack up. Going to the Florida camp, still being young, still being unproven. And then you have the wherewithal to understand, okay, I know what they want to see from me, and I know what they're already thinking. They're already thinking I'm just a pass rusher. So let me dig in and let me prove early here that I'm just as dominant against the run. And then it's okay, well, who else are they watching? Let me go up against him. Let me see how I stack up personally against him, but also for the scouts here. Let the scouts also know that just because I'm young doesn't mean I'm not here to compete. I'm not here to hide. I'm not just here to say I came to this camp. That mentality you have is just different. It's a very mature, very let me grab my lunch pail and my hard hat and go to work every day. My question is, Asher, on the days when it's hard, bro, when for example, you had to get up for that Rutgers camp, your body's still sore, it's recovering from the previous camp, and you still got school. You still got to try to have a life. You still got to try to be elite in the classroom as well. You still got work that you do outside with your coaches. When your body is sore, when it's tired, when it's telling you it can't get out of bed, what's that why that keeps Asher moving, that keeps you going, that keeps you pushing and striving towards your goal?
I would say it's just what I've always wanted to do. And being little and going through, I started playing football when I was 4 years old, tackle football. And ever since then, I was like, I know this is what I want to do. So if I want to do it, I'm going to have to do things that people normally wouldn't do, or that the average football player wouldn't do. And so I know that on days that I'm sore, I'm not feeling it, or I don't want to do it, or maybe I'm feeling down that day, or something else is affecting me. I know that I'm gonna have to do that in order to get better because there's someone out there that's still going and still going and still going. So if I'm one day behind, they're one day ahead. And it's different because, like, if I'm one day behind and then I do it again and then I'm 2 days behind, they're 2 days ahead, and then it keeps stacking up. So being able to be uncomfortable and teaching myself to adapt to those situations in uncomfortable situations, and put myself in uncomfortable situations as well, to learn and to be able to grow from those, because you don't just grow from staying stagnant and being comfortable all the time. You just have to learn to be able to grow from the other things that life throws at you. And if you let those tiny things tear you down, then what will the big things do to you when you're told the bad news, or your career is ended, or they think that you might not ever play again, but you can still go out there and defy all the odds and go out there and do what you know that you can do and what you're meant to do.
I love the way you look at that because you do hear the term, the cliche, just continue stacking good days. No one ever talks about the fact that you could stack bad days. You could take one day off and then two and then three. And I like the way that you look at that, where it's like the goal obviously is to continue having good days, but the goal has to be not to stack bad days. Like you said, I'm going to line up against someone, and you said it earlier, I'm either going to die or not. But I'm not going to lose every rep here. I'm not stacking two bad reps in a row. I'm not stacking two bad days in a row. I like the way you look at that, the way you approach that. Before we get out of here, though, there's an offer I have to bring up, and it's not just for you, it's for the family as well. Because when I say student athlete, it means being elite on the field and being elite in the classroom. That means having the 60 tackles, but that means having A's on the report card. When you get an offer from Baylor, a school that has done phenomenal things this year, went to a bowl game, won their bowl game, one of the most successful seasons in their history. And the program has just been on a fantastic trajectory. They're doing some great things in Waco. But aside from football, you don't get a Baylor offer if you're not also elite in the classroom. You have to be able to sack the quarterback, and you have to be able to ace that final as well. What was that like, getting that offer from Baylor? Not just from you, but for your parents as well. That's that stamp of approval that we were talking about, knowing that he's not just elite on the field, but he's elite in the classroom as well.
I would say it was awesome because they were a special offer. They were the 10th to, and that again really special to me, being able to remember certain things that happened and when they happened. And there's certain numbers that definitely, like, because when Miami came in, they're my 20th, so that holds a special place for me.
I
And
love
so
that. Yeah.
it's definitely a sentimental thing, and being able to know that they not only believe in me in the classroom but on the football field too is really special because, like, you're not, because after when football's done, like, you don't just, you can't, like, some people, yeah, you can live forever and off your money, but if something goes not according to plan and you're in college, you get hurt, your season's done, you're done forever. Like, what are you going to do after that? And are you set up for that, or were you just set up for football only? And that's a really big thing. Is our receiver, he's committed there, obviously, and he's leaving soon, so he's going to go out there. But it's definitely, they have a great football program and a great academic program to set you up for your future as well when you're done, and so that you can go out there and do what you want to do, whether it's being an entrepreneur or real estate or sales or whatever you want to go in and do. When you're done, they will have you set up for it. And that's a big thing for me as well, because it's not just about football, it's about everything else that goes into your life as well.
I like that you're looking at it with those with that kind of foresight too, because I mean, even if it's 3 years in college and then 12 in the league, you're still Asher after that. You still have to have a
Exactly.
life. You know what I mean? There still has to be something after football. So I like that you're looking at it in the sense of, okay, I obviously this next step is to prepare me for the league, but it is also to prepare me for life after the league as well. I want to get to the league, but I also want to have that piece of paper that opens up doors for me when I'm done playing football as well. So I like that you brought that up. That's one that I know parents enjoy, so I had to bring that one up because I know that offer to them was just as big as any SEC offer, because now mom, dad never have to ask if you're focusing on your studies. If Baylor shot the offer, yes, the study, the schoolwork is taken care of. That also lets other schools know, okay, Asher's not just elite on the field. This is a young man that takes his schooling serious, because Baylor wouldn't be involved with him if he didn't take that serious. So that also lets the other recruiting sites and the recruiting programs know, okay, this is it's a young man that is a complete student athlete. And they know that when they look at that offer sheet, because like we said, they take that very serious. And you know that from experience with one of your teammates going there. So you know what it takes to get into that school, because I'm sure he's told you as well.
Yes, sir.
Asher, this was so much fun, bro. I cannot wait to see the production next year, because you've got another year of experience. You've got another year of more weapons in your arsenal. And I know the kind of player you are, that there's other stuff in that toolbox that we haven't seen yet. So I cannot wait to see it next year. Let everybody know where they can follow you on Instagram and Twitter, so that we can all keep up with you for this next season.
Yes, sir. So you guys can follow me, Asher_Ghioto, on Instagram, and on Twitter it's just Asher Ghioto 34. Keep it real simple, just my name and my number, but you guys can find me there. And but yeah, thank you so much for everything, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for coming on. Y'all go follow Asher now. Please do not wait until y'all see me tweeting the highlights and y'all ask me for his Twitter. This is how this always happens. And for those of you that are wondering, okay, my school didn't get named. It's just because I would have kept him here all night if we would have named other schools. But Colorado, Auburn, Tennessee, Florida State. If you are a school in Florida, the answer is just yes. Don't ask me if you're UCF, UCF, USF. Yeah, the offer sheet is longer than we went over today, but it's just because he also has a life. I would keep him here for 10 hours, and we were talking about all those schools. So trust me, if your school was not mentioned, it's just because it was a condensed version of that. But after next year, when we have another year of dominance, we're going to have you back on the show, sit back, watch that film, talk about another fantastic year. I wish you and the squad nothing but good health and success. If you guys stream any game, please send me the link. I'll tweet it out to make sure that all the fan bases, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Kansas States, the Florida States, the Miamis, we all want to pull up so that we can see the dominance again, because we're all just waiting on pins and needles, hoping it's us. I don't care what school it is. It's the ones that haven't offered yet. It's the ones that have offered. We're all just waiting to hope that we're the ones that land Asher Ghioto. So I wish you nothing but good health and success next year. I cannot wait to see the evolution, because I know you're just going to be 1% better every day, and that's just going to stack. And next year, we're going to see an even more dominant and an even more complete player. So I know I'm excited. I speak for everyone in the comments when I say we can't wait, and we wish you nothing but good health, double-digit sacks, and success next year, my brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for your time and being able to come on the show. It was amazing, and I can't wait to come back next year and share everything but doubled.
Let's go. We doubling everything next year. Y'all go follow Asher right now. Like, share, and subscribe. Please don't wait until you see that, oh, my team offered him. I promise he's got the offer. Georgia, we didn't talk about it. Shout out to Coach Kirby Smith. The Dogs are doing some great things. They're on Asher as well. So trust me when I say, if we didn't mention you, your school still is interested. So make sure you give him that follow, like, share, and subscribe, and go click his huddle, because they'll break down his huddle from game to game. So next year you're going to see, oh, he's playing against this tackle or this guard, or they're playing against this running back. I want to see how he did, or let me see how he did against Solomon Thomas. You can check his huddle. It'll be in the description. They break him down game by game, so you can sit there and you can watch him dominate everyone that you thought was probably elite. He's just as elite. And there's other players on that team as well. So you're going to watch Asher. You're going to go, oh, he plays with him? He does. So all that'll be in the description. All you got to do is one click, and you'll be to every single site you can watch Asher's highlights on. Thank you so much for coming on, bro. I cannot wait till next year. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we out.
Yes, sir.